420, Kelly Jackson. Today being 420. Advocates for legalization of cannabis. First of all, notice how they're changing it from marijuana to cannabis.
Cannabis.
Right?
That sounds more of the medical term.
Right. It's less harsh. Cannabis, I'm for legalized cannabis, but marijuana, no way.
Or pot.
Right, yeah. So listen to this. Advocates for the legalization of cannabis are handing out joints to congressional staffers on Capitol Hill today.
Really?
Yes. It's planned for this afternoon and is intended as a protest against federal interference with states that have legal cannabis. Now, I didn't know this. Recreational marijuana is legal in the District of Columbia due to a ballot initiative approved back in 2014.
I didn't know that either because I was like, can they legally hand out joints?
Now, here's the thing. Giving it away is legal in the District of Columbia. Participants in the action won't be risking arrest because you are allowed to give it away legally in the District of Columbia. The city government, now you know it's not a state, it's a District of Columbia, and so it's sort of controlled by Congress, but they have a city government. The city government has been barred by Congress from taxing pot or regulating its sale. So they're not allowed to tax it, and they can't regulate its sale, and they can give it away for free. So there you go.
So you can give it away.
You can give it away.
Can you smoke it?
You cannot. Now, here's what's interesting. You cannot smoke it legally on the street and in public. However, there is no crime attached to it. You're just not allowed to do it. But there's no penalty attached to it if you are caught smoking marijuana legally or illegally on the streets of the District of Columbia.
That is one odd
deal. So if you are a congressional staffer today, be careful somebody handing you a cannabis joint of some kind. 720, Big 550, KTRS. Brad Garrett is our go-to guy when it comes to crime, terrorism, and all that type of stuff. Brad Garrett, ABC News crime and terrorism analyst. Good morning.
Good morning, McGraw.
So this Facebook Live story has touched off the murder that they posted and shown on a video, has touched off the whole issue of violent crime and criminals and bad guys posting things on social media. How bad is it?
It's bad, and it's going to get worse. And the reason why is that it's too easy to do. Think about this. If your whole goal is to be famous, to get attention, to have power, and to have hundreds of millions of people watch you do all of the above, what a perfect venue. And so that's the big problem.
We in the older generation don't really kind of get social media. But what we really don't get is the people who post, who beat up kids, who you mock other kids, do terrible things that we would be ashamed of. They're now posting these things for their friends to see. We just don't get that.
No, and it goes to the utter insensitivity of some people. And unfortunately, McGraw, social media, texting, etc., things where you don't physically have to be in front. And, when we grew up, you had to deal with the person in front of you. So, you ran the risk of getting beaten up or something else happening to you. This way, you don't. So it takes away, for people who aren't responsible, it takes away that element. And unfortunately, you're exactly right. I mean, I am just appalled at some of the things that kids say to each other via social media.
So is it social media, is it Facebook's responsibility to sort of curtail that? Law enforcement, where do we go?
Okay, here's the issue. Think about this. 100 million people a day are on Twitter. 186 billion people are on Facebook a month, which means if you go online right now, McGraw, hundreds of millions of people will be online in one of these venues. So, yes, Facebook, Twitter, etc., they have algorithms that pull out certain words, certain phrases, and certain images that send a red flag for them to look into the account. The problem is, based on this volume, is they can't do it in a timely fashion. So the reality is just like regular crime. When we see it online, we've got to call the police and tell them. Now, the issue is going to be, do we know where it is? Because the guy may not be stating where he is, but tell your local law enforcement, have them go online, take a look at it, and then secondarily go to the social media outlet, Twitter, Facebook, etc. But only secondarily, because you really need to get law enforcement moving, obviously, when you have a murder in progress.
Is law enforcement, have they now changed, and so they have constantly have people monitoring social media to see the bad guys out there?
Well, the best they can, but the short answer is there's no way you could monitor literally hundreds of millions of people. You could monitor certain accounts. You could maybe monitor certain phrases, but the media companies, the social media companies, really have the responsibility to create these algorithms to pull out certain phrases. That's what we're going to have to go with. But again, we're going to have to help them.
Is it going to get worse?
Of course it's going to get worse. Why wouldn't it? It's too easy. And they do like to copycat each other. I mean, this guy did this, a few days ago. Remember the reporter in Roanoke, Virginia? A live streamed with the streaming over the top of his Glock as he shoots two reporters on the air that he used to work with. I mean, it's just the idea that you can do that and do it right now if you chose to is there. And when you go to this sort of immediacy, this culture seems to be caught, they want immediate attention now. It's just the perfect platform for that, unfortunately.
That is Brad Garrett, ABC News crime and terrorism analyst with some sobering stuff today. Brad, thanks for checking in.
Take care, McGraw.
6:20.